Hey guys, so today we're going to be talking a bit about how to create a sort of text, shall we say, sort of photo creation here. Now, what you'll do is you'll find whatever picture you want, and what you'll do is you'll find of any person, and you will find a short quote. Let's find something that's not super long. I mean, it could be long. It's fine, but you're going to be kind of be putting it word by word down here, and you'll put the name of the person at the very end here. Now, I've chosen just for this Todd Beamer. If you don't know who that is, he was one of the passengers on United 93, which was one of the planes that was hijacked in 9/11. But the passengers fought back and didn't allow the plane to hit its intended target. So he's a real sort of iconic, kind of like person, especially among kind of this time of the year. But his last words, according to the person who was talking to him over the radio, the flight control tower, was everybody ready? Let's roll before they decide to take control of the plane. So that's the quote I chose here. So I'll show you how I did this here. I'll just close this out. I won't save anything. But basically, you will find your picture here, and you will. So in this case, I thought I would choose this Wikipedia picture here, but it's kind of a low res picture. So I found this YouTube clip thing. So what I'll do is I'll just drag it on into your Photoshop, and you want this to be rather isolated here. So in this case, I mean, it's okay if you have the rest of this here, but I'm just going to crop this down until I just kind of get what I want here. So I'm going to have this little square. You can always choose the different ratios you want to use with your crop tool. So if you want to choose the ratio of the actual, like of whatever you want to choose here, in this case the original ratio, or a sort of kind of custom ratio, the various different choices you've got here. But I'm going to choose just a square, just so I can kind of focus in on this person, on his face. So I'll just press enter here, and we just want to isolate him from the background. But before we do that, just go ahead and do that. So I'll just take out my magnetic lasso here, and I'll just make a real rough cutout here. I spent a little more time last time, but what you'll do is you'll try. Obviously you want to do your best to get a really good selection here. And obviously, once you get your selection, definitely hit the quick mask tool and make sure that you've got everything off the edges. So just choose your brush tool. And you paint with black anything that you want to be selected, and you paint with white anything you don't want to be selected. So just make this a little bit harder here. It's a little bit hard to brush, and change it to white. Get rid of this up here. So, and we can just kind of run over the edges with the eraser in just a second. We'll do the same over here. Let me just give a cue, and I'll just once again get my lasso tool, and I'll just select this side as well. Go around here, and as I was saying, obviously you'll want to spend a little more time doing this. I'm just doing this, a little bit quickly for the sake of the video. And I'll just hit the quick mask tool, and I'll go back to my brush, and I'll just hit this, and here we go. All right. And as well. Q again, and there's a little spot next to his neck that's kind of obvious here. I'll see if I can't get that selected as well. Roll. Size there, and it's pretty good. All right, I'll get back, and just general speaking for me, I just like to feather it a little bit and maybe expand it in slightly here. So I'll just go to filter, rather select, modify, and feather. And I'll feather it for about 2 pixels here, and I'll just press. First off, what I'll do is I'll go to the background, make a layer from background, and then I'll press delete on the keyboard, revealing our little transparency grid back there, letting us know that we have this alpha channel back there. So let's go ahead and go to Image Adjustments, Desaturate. So if you already have a black and white photo, you won't need to do this. And I'm just going to go ahead and get the contrast up slightly. So I get my contrast, my brightness and contrast, just to make the lights and the darks a little more easy to see here. Now the only problem with this is that what we're going to do is we're going to fill this the other side of this the area below. We're going to fill this with black. So go ahead and get your bucket tool here, find your gradient tool, hold down the button, find the bucket tool, press G on the keyboard, fill it with black. And the idea is we want to have the text kind of showing through the area below it. So we've got a couple things we could do here. We could take our dodge tool and we could run over this sort of area here. If you've got an area that's too dark to show up against the black, you could always take your dodge tool and try to affect that. But what I've got here is a big white stripe of his little baseball jersey. baseball jacket here or whatever, and we don't want to have that become like just blazing white. So what I will do is I will take my brush tool and I'll just get a big soft brush here. Maybe put your pixels, get the hardness down to 0, and I'll put the opacity down to about 20. Now what's cool about the opacity is that if, for instance, this is too much, so just switch it to white. If this is too much, then you could always change the opacity by clicking the numbers at the top of your keyboard, not on the number pad, but on your keyboard here. For instance, this was 30% opacity. That was, I think it's a bit too much. So I'm just undo that. And so you watch this right here. I'm going to hit 2 on the keyboard, and it automatically goes down to 20%. So in this case, it's a little bit less extreme. I'll just run over here. And this is just for this particular image. You may not have an area that does this, but so if you have an area that you want to lighten up just in contrast with the rest of the black background, then this is what you'll need to be doing here. And I'll just go ahead and pull this off to the side here. Okay, so this is kind of bright enough for me to be able to see the color black, so I'll just use black as my text. But what I want to do is I want to make a text box. So let's select our text tool over here, and instead of just clicking once, what we'll do is we'll actually just click and we'll drag across the entire sort of like half of the image here, and I'll put this over here. And so the way I did this, let me just pull my font down. I chose a real thick font. I chose Bauhaus. Bauhaus is one of our history of graphic design terms as the sort of institute of art and design back in the early 20th century in Germany. So this font is sort of a kind of a classic typeface that's been known for a while. This is Bauhaus 93 here. So I'm just going to say let's do black here instead of white. All right, so we'll just type this a couple times. Obviously, if you have a longer quote, let me just quickly run through here. I'll explain what I'm doing in just a second. I'm just by going over here and just clicking auto. I have this on caps. So go keep it on caps lock here. I have it all in all capital letters, just to make everything sort of more uniform. I didn't include the period because the period kind of breaks up the pattern. Okay. Todd. Beamer on one line. All right, great. So what we want to do is we want to make sure each of these lines fills up as much as the horizontal space of the image as we possibly can. So we have a really easy tool here, but before we do that, let me go ahead and just point out this little window right here. This is the character window. If you don't see this little A with a line next to it, go ahead and click on window and find character. And this will pop up, and you've got several things to look at here. We've got obviously our font size. We can drag that up, and we can increase our font size there. We can just roll over next to it and find our leading, which we don't want to affect the leading right now for this one because the leading affects what's the space above it. So if I just click over here, I'll increase the size of the word body to fit in sort of maybe this little area right below every. And I'll take my leading here, and I'll just click and I'll just drag this to the left to get it as close as I can to every without it kind of interfering with the letters here. So I'll just keep doing that. I'm just going to go ahead and select each line here, each word, expand the font to fill up as much of the horizontal space as I can of this image, and then I'll see if I can't tuck it in by affecting my leading. And it may be kind of like a kind of look as you go. There's no real rule to this. You just have to kind of eyeball this and make sure that you can cover as much as you can. And this works out well because obviously the phrase "let's roll" is the big call to action. So it being bigger can sort of strike a bit of a note there with being bigger than the rest of it. So let's see if I can do this. I'll just do this. You guys can obviously watch, or you can skip ahead until I get this done. This is getting a bit too big for the vertical space of the image, so we may want to cut this down a little bit. what I can do is I can just wholly just let's think here. But this, how about we just do this? We'll click outside, click at our select tool, and I'll just kind of shrink this down slightly. And have it take up less of the horizontal space there, just so I can T tool here, get the text back, go below it. Trying to fit this in here without taking it too far past the bottom edge. All right, so that's about good. Let me just make this a little bit smaller, just to fit it in to the little area of the neck. All right, so that's about right. Can pull this over this way. This way. Okay, just so we can have more of the face visible on the other side. Okay, so so let's just kind of leave this for now. We'll go ahead and just disable the text layer for now. We'll duplicate this. Right click on it, duplicate layer, and we'll take this this layer here. We'll make this invisible, and we'll take this layer 0, the original one, and I'll make this text visible for just a second. And I'll just take my marquee tool. I'll just select the side right there next to the text, and I'm going to just apply a layer mask to it. Hit this little button down here where it says apply layer mask, add layer mask, right? And so that will just kind of exclude everything that's not been selected. I'll make that invisible for now, and then I'll actually make the black invisible as well, the black background, so I could see my text. Now, obviously, if you had your text completely red, you could that'd be fine here. But in this case, let's just kind of keep this red the way it is. Okay, so with all this done, with just the text visible, let's go ahead and find our channels window. So this little thing right here, this little sort of three circles kind of holding onto each other. What we'll do is we'll go over here to window and hit channels. If you don't see this. What this does is just kind of isolate the various channels. So if I had something red, you would see it, here. For instance, let me see if I can just grab a little paintbrush here and just paint. Find some let's see. I want to say this is all grayscale now. Nope. Okay. You see, it sort of shows up just on the red channel, and on the green channel and blue channel, it just shows up as black. So in this case, it's white, RGB, it's all together. So the cool thing about this is that if we were to, for example, take a look here one more time so I can get my text back to where it was. This little button down here that has the sort of marching ants, which is just sort of load channel S selection. You just click on that, and then suddenly you see these marching ants everywhere. And then what we'll do is we'll take our select tool, we'll right click, we'll say select inverse, or we'll just go to select and then select inverse here. And we'll go over to our layer 0 copy, make that visible, and then we'll just apply a layer mask as well. Alright, and so now we bring them all together. We have all these kind of side by side, and we can still see a bit of the information of his eye and everything. I wonder if maybe making the lets without the apostrophe might work better, but I think this is okay. So we can kind of see the sort of like of his hat coming by and stuff. So the central idea is that you're taking this sort of this image here. This is a sort of a low res image, but the idea is you can just take the quote, whatever it is you've got, and then what you'll do is you'll just apply this to where half of the face is visible, half of the face is only visible through the text. And this works good as a little poster. This works good as just a neat little kind of graphic to sort of show off the different ways of sort of masking the layers. So all right, well, very good. Cannot wait to see what you guys produce. So you'll just use your own image for this, and can't wait to see what you guys produce.